Up at 2 a.m. I'm now 4 months or so into this. The shock and initial horror is pretty much gone now. Now, I just live with an unending sort of dark cloud that never leaves. I got cheated on and cast aside in a quick period of 3 weeks. She met a guy at work, and they texted a lot. It was cool to see my love find a friend in COVID times. But as the days and 3 weeks went by, they texted constantly. I'm 13 years into our relationship at this point, so I'm super not worried about crap like this. But something changed in me after they were ramping up their texting. I started getting jealous. We got in fights a few times throughout the last 2 weeks. But I was just crazy, you know? Jealousy issues. I believed I had developed an issue and wanted to go to counseling after a fight. Anyways, I found them sexting an evening after we got back home from her family's cabin. I was gaslit into oblivion. I feel like a hollow husk now, and there's so much more to this, but I imagine you could guess most of the details. It was textbook infidelity. I'd be straight up embarrassed of myself if I were her. Like, she's a rom-comedy trope at this point, which is hilarious because she hates rom-coms. That being said, I still effing love her so much, and it's so hard not to. I basically have her written into my DNA, so she's still a constant force that lives with me. I'm at a point where I'm considering fully dipping out though. 13 years together is a long time when you're only 30 years old. I'm obviously intertwined with her family, so much so that they had become my main family really. It was obvious they didn't want to lose me, so they kept inviting me to do stuff with them, without her. But I'm at a point that the support is less helpful and more like a reminder that crap's effed up, and I'll likely never have what I lost back. I'm just doing the bare minimum right now. Food and clean clothes are my big accomplishments, and work too, I suppose. I painted the living room recently, in the house we bought together 2.5 years ago, in which I live in solo with our 2 cats. But while it's cool and an accomplishment, I just look at it and think about how much we would have enjoyed doing it together and being proud of ourselves and one another. But instead, I'm alone, patting my own back. Okay, I think I've rambled enough. Lastly, with COVID lockdown, my life feels like Groundhog's Day the movie. Same day over and over. So boring. Just my cats to talk at, but they are adorable sweethearts. Edit. Hey, thanks for all the responses from you beautiful people. This will be my little place I can go and look back at when I am down or feeling weak, etc. Update. Still working on myself and healing. In a lot of ways, I'm doing better now. After my original post, you gave me some momentum on my next steps, but I ultimately still melted into a puddle of depression and lethargy for the better portion of the first year. I did sober life, drunk life, high life, and whatever I could think of to keep myself going. I tried seeing someone for a few months toward the end of summer, fall, and it was a really nice connection in a lot of ways, but I learned I am in no way ready to dive into the pool of love, and I'm not sure when I will be. The short relationship taught me a lot about super proper communication. We ended things on a positive note and are still friends. We were both really sad about it, but we figured out that I just can't show up to a relationship yet. I think I'm too walled off from being that committed with another person. Also, being physical with someone else really felt like I was cheating, which gave me performance anxiety like crazy. Didn't even know that was a thing until it happened to me. My best friend said something that stuck with me. He painted some imagery with words speaking of a pitcher full of this special stuff you've carried with your whole life that represents that special feeling of love. And my cheating ex took that pitcher from me and just casually dumped it into the street and down the drain it went. I still don't know how to refill that pitcher. It's tragic. Probably just need time. I feel like I still have years before I can really try another relationship, which sucks because I'm almost 32. I've learned that I need to be happy with myself fully before I can show up for someone else. I had fully committed my mind, body, and spirit to my partner from my 13-year relationship, and that's hard to undo internally. I absolutely despise and borderline hate that person, but I also love that person more than anyone else on this planet. That whole conundrum tortures me. I'll never forgive her for what she did. She doesn't deserve it. She straight up ruined my life in so many ways and effectively took away 90% of the people in my life that brought me joy. Her family. I still hang out with her brother pretty much every weekend. He has someone who was there for me during the fallout and stood by me while she messed everything up, and her family ultimately sacrificed me to save themselves from embarrassment and sweep it under the rug too, which was wildly hurtful. And yeah, I know it's kind of weird for me to hang with her brother because it keeps reminding me of her, but it feels good as I have a great time with him and his family. I still get to be an uncle figure to his kids, but I really miss all the other nieces and nephews though. I lost 10 other kids in this who thought of me as Uncle D, but that's enough about that. I've got a lot of momentum at the moment. I cook every meal I eat. I focus on my house and chores and cats, and I try to balance everything in my personal life with more importance put on my personal health over my work life. Animation, very demanding profession mentally. Less drinking and less weed has been a positive change. I still lack a lot of joy, and overall still feel like there's no point to anything, but I'm finding ways to keep going. I got into bouldering at a bouldering gym in my city. It quickly became my new passion. I'm a very lean 5'11" guy, about 140 pounds, which is good because I think I got down to 130 pounds when I was most depressed and not eating very much. I'm naturally built for climbing and have always had a high sense of body control, so it feels really amazing to have gotten into something I can just go wild and push my limits. I go do it 4 to 5 times a week, so I'm just wrecked physically most days. I can see and feel the results, which is very, very nice. I feel like my body is functioning properly internally as I'm eating so much better now. I feel attractive too, so that's nice, even though I'm not looking for anything. Right now, it's all about me and my journey back to good mental and physical health. But I must say that since I'm turning 32 this year, and I definitely feel a weird pressure not to waste the last few years of my prime. I'm getting there slowly, but I still have a long ways to go. To hell with infidelity. Time for bed. Our first reaction comes from OK Replacement 7697. I'm glad you're improving. Keep it up and don't give up. Has karma done something to her? The OP replies, I'm not sure. I took the advice last time of no contact pretty seriously and do my best to keep that going. I have no idea if karma has done anything. She controlled her world and gaslit everyone. Pretty sure her workmates have no idea she did what she did with the workmate affair partner. Haunting Chain 2434 has a comment too. Hey, reading your post gives me hope. As an internet stranger, I want to say I'm proud of you. It's not always easy, and even tiny progress is progress. I'm also in my 30s, and it's scary to think of the future, wondering if I'll ever find someone. But the thought of dating or being with someone right now repulses me. I came out with a ton of trust and image issues, but one day at a time. The OP replies, losing hope is a struggle. I still am in the trenches in a lot of ways, but sometimes things seem okay once in a while. And thank you for the praise. Nothing about this is easy. All we can do is give it an honest effort. I felt worthless for a long time, but I'm starting to rediscover parts of myself as I give myself a bit of grace. Slowly, I make these tiny grains measure in inches at a time. We'll get there someday, and I hope it's beautiful. On to the next adventure. Low libido wife was sexting, became high libido. Is this cheating? What's going on? So this is a super weird story that happened 5 years ago, but I'm still not over it. In the last 15 years, I worked on my career, became a surgeon, income increased, lifestyle improved. My wife stopped her career, we have 2 kids, she was home most of the time. Our sex life was boring. I was high libido, she was low libido. Most of the time I initiated. It was like maintenance sex. Suddenly, 5 years ago, she became a sex maniac. I mean, like she started giving me blowjobs and demanded sex several times a day, even for me too much. A few weeks later, I found out that she was sexting with a random guy from another country. Like hard sexting. She sent him nudes, close-up pictures. In the same time, she planned a trip with some female friends to this country and wrote him to meet her. They made plans for meeting, looking for a hotel. The interesting thing is, this guy is a laborer without any education, divorced, has a child, from a pretty poor country. He is not good looking, muscular. She even offered him to pay for the train ticket to the town where she was supposed to be. So in terms of sex life, I had the time of my life for several weeks. Then she went on a short trip and I discovered her sexting on her computer. I confronted her. She was sorry. She said that it was only for her sexual arousal and compared it to reading an erotic book. It was becoming harder and harder with time because she needed more and more arousal. She said that the planned meeting was fake and she would never do it, but she needed more stimulation and our sex life is great now. She stopped with the sexting, but the guy obviously fell in love and started to threaten her with blackmail and sending the nudes to her friends and published the photos all over the internet with her name. After several sleepless nights, he stopped and they never contacted again. So she told me that she was sorry and stupid. I told her that I forgive her and everything was fine, but it wasn't. Our sex life came back to normal, 1 to 2 times a month after a few weeks. I never really trusted her since. I feel like it was some kind of cheating. So when she started to have high libido 4 months ago again, I sensed that something is going on. This time, she was into a foreign classical music artist. She even invited him into our house. I agreed, but fortunately, he was a total jerk and only used her help and my money to push his career further. I checked her phone, found some mild flirting at the beginning, but then nothing. He left. She somehow felt abused by him. Again, she said that it was only about the music and she was stupid, and this time it wasn't sexual. Our sex life is great again, so I shouldn't complain. But why do I feel bad? I'm also afraid that her libido will go down again after a few weeks. I must add that I'm super supportive. I love her. I adore her. I tell her that she is beautiful. I really mean it. I support her in every possible way. I do not force her to have sex with me. I never did. She says that she doesn't know what's going on with her. She says that she loves me. She never wants to leave me, or me to leave her, or be with any other men. I'm in therapy because of the mental breakdown in December. Job issues resolved, and at the same time the classical artist issue, also resolved. And low self-esteem. She refuses to see a therapist, but she admits that something is wrong with her. Edit. The first time she was in another country, not in Russia, so I am confident that she didn't cheat. However, I am convinced now that she cheated emotionally with the Russian caveman. The second time, she was flirting with the artist at the beginning of her contact with him, but later stopped. He is super strict Catholic, 15 years younger, and he told her to stop, so she did. Later, when he visited us, she was taking care about him all the time, showed him our city, invited him to dinners, and he used her in financial matters, took some money for gifts and didn't give it back, then left for his country. He also wrote to his friend. She found out by coincidence that she is like a horny older woman. She was completely devastated for 1 to 2 weeks because she really did much for him and to promote him, but she told me everything and repeated many times that it was only about the music. I don't know. The artist issue started 4 months ago and finished 3 weeks ago. For 4 months, our sex life was great, like 5 years ago, but not that extreme. I'm very satisfied. Every day she is cuddling, telling me that I'm the only one, that she loves me. We have sex every second day, which is perfect for me. In December, I had a mental breakdown due to job issues and the artist issue, but I recovered with help of intensive therapy. I think that she has some problems with her body and that she was bored. I am a type of person who tries to understand a problem, and I am not following the current trend to divorce immediately. Even if she would screw a guy, I would give her a chance. Everybody can make a mistake. I will try to save the marriage, and I will define the limits. I already told her what my limits are. If she will cross it again, I will separate and then probably file for divorce. Thanks for all the comments and advice. You're welcome for all the comments, so let's get to the first one. Antique Manny 5966 says, "You know what else works like an erotic novel? An erotic novel. You know who doesn't post your consensually sent nudes all over the internet via blackmail? An erotic novel." Terser78 says, "Yikes. Let's be very clear here. She cheated twice. The first involved sharing intimacy with another man, and the second was emotionally. Don't be under any delusions that this wasn't clearly infidelity, not romance novels. She shared her body with another person, digitally. She isn't going to magically stop. In fact, the opposite. She will get worse until finally it turns physical. Something is wrong mentally with your wife, and she shows zero desire to fix it, which means you can expect more trauma coming to you soon. Your wife has an illness deep inside of her. She can hide the symptoms for a while, but ultimately, that illness comes back out. Your kids deserve a healthier household. It's clear you are struggling due to her actions. Without some serious changes, they will grow up and have their own struggles in relationships due to the poor example y'all have set. You don't trust her and are unhappy. That is manifested out in this relationship. It seems clear that she doesn't have a low libido, just has a low libido for you." Wild Grapefruit 9177 chimes in. "OP, you are her financial and emotional safety net. Unfortunately, you don't excite her sexually or arouse her emotionally. She needs individual counseling to fix this, or it will get much worse. Help to stand by my separation decision." Hello friends. I decided to come to this forum to ask for help and guidance on my recently requested separation of my partner. I'm finding this process very hard and it is very difficult to see my partner suffering for all the pain that I'm causing her. A bit of background. We have been together for almost 10 years and we are not married, but we've been living together for 8 of them. We have a very sad story of cheating from both of us. mistreating, disrespect, and distance between us at multiple times on in the relationship. We bought a house a couple of years ago, and although things have changed for the better, the relationship has taken us to a very dependent state. I don't go out, don't have friends, and I completely abandon who I am. She is very much in the same place. No friends, no hobbies, only the two of us, all week, every month. We are both foreigners and have no family whatsoever where we live, London. I have realized that although I have a lot of feelings for her, my love has extinguished, and I want to be alone. Probably come back home and reconnect with who I am. I have recently asked her for a separation, but I find it very difficult to stand by my decision, not because I changed my mind, but because the amount of pain my partner is going through. She has spent sleepless nights wiping her forgiveness, begging her to stay, changed drastically, cooks for me, cleans the house, dresses very sexy for me. This only makes me feel worse, because I know she's doing it out of desperation and that this is not the real her. I have tried to speak and bring some sense to her mind. I don't want this to be messy. I don't want to pack my things and go and leave her in this state. On the contrary, I'd like her to understand the reasons and to accept there is no longer a future between us, and accept the separation. Finish on good terms instead of finishing hating each other in the process. I'm currently still living in our house, and she often plays the "there's nothing happening here" type of character and continues to act as if we are still a happy couple. Often I'm baffled by this and want to avoid seeing her crying and begging again, so I'm just going through with it. I'd like to get your opinion and experience in case some of you have gone through something similar. What would you advise me to do? She's a great person, very loving and very kind. I don't want to hurt her anymore. I'd like her to accept what is going on and break up in an amicable way. Our first response comes from Judgmental Panda. I don't know how the exact dynamic here, so I could be making an incorrect assumption, but it sounds like she is codependent. That isn't a good place to be for her. However, while this may sound rude, if that is the case, you simply cannot be the help she needs. To that end, I'm not sure how realistic you are being and wanting some kind of clean break. Think of it this way. You and her want two very different things. You have already decided on your course of action, which she disagrees with, and are now asking how to get her to agree with it. Don't get me wrong, you are not wrong for deciding to leave. That is something you can have every right to decide. But you can't force her to agree with you. You can't force her to be okay with it. The fact that she sounds codependent is going to make finding some form of common ground impossible. My advice to you would be to actually leave. That includes things like going no contact until you and her have truly moved on, which may be forever. The kindest thing you can do for them is to rip off the band-aid. In other words, be crystal clear that it is over. I mean, move out. Don't try and break up gently or say something like, "we can still be friends," because to them, that will just be sending mixed signals again. While it isn't your fault she is codependent and is definitely something she should seek help with, it would be your fault if you pretend not to notice the signs and effectively lead her on. If you've been together for 10 years, you can't really pretend that you don't know how she will interpret your actions. So excuses like, "I didn't know she would interpret me still engaging in sex with her as me not being serious about leaving," would be pure BS. And our last comment comes from Leader Icy. When I was still smoking and wanted to quit, I was advised to slowly cut it down. I used to smoke a pack a day. It seesawed to half, down to 3 times, then if I'm stressed out, balloons to pack again, and I'm back at square one. I've decided one day to just quit cold turkey. I haven't looked back. Sometimes just ripping out the bandage is the best solution. Sit her down and give your speech and just go.